All right, let's jump into it. What are we at? 10:25 on what was it, Tuesday, the 21st of May. Pretty sort of crazy sort of start to the week actually. So we had DXY sort of through Asia yesterday, really sort of coming down to almost try and sort of get this bear flag sort of thing playing out here. But you can see that Friday's support area was really your confirmation zone. So you would have wanted the close down out underneath this area here to give it confirmation to get this bear flag to play out. That obviously sort of didn't happen. It turned into a double bottom. And then obviously, yes, we've seen a little bit of a bounce. And this is what I was talking about when I sort of say that, look, you've got to wait for that second push down because you've got your sell down, you're going to have your push up. This leg here, so wait, if we do this, so this is leg one. Let's make this a bit fatter, different color. So this and this, just for the sake of this. All right, so you've got your sell down, you push up, and then you sell down. Now this leg here, this will always come, like, you know what I mean, as very rarely, I mean, occasionally you get V-shaped recoveries in that, like this sort of thing here was pretty V-shape. But most of the time, as you're coming down, you'll get your push down, you'll get your push up, you'll find resistance, you look for previous areas where we sort of noticed it before, it clipped into there, and then it pushes down for the second run. Now this second run is the one that sort of determines how strong this whole move is. So, yep. And so you're going to get one of three things happening. You're going to get, as I said, a close down underneath that previous low there, which would be this sort of thing, which would give you a lower low, which means continuation of this move moving down. So bang, bang, like this. This is one scenario. Second scenario being comes down here, bounces back up, and it comes down for, only down to say this high here. This will give you a lower high, and then once you break that bounce high, that's your confirmation up this way. Or we've got what actually did happen, which again, up, finds resistance, back down, this time equal to what the last bottom was, which is our support area, and that's a double bottom. Again, same breakout point as the second scenario with a higher low above that sort of break area here, which is the bounce high. That's a confirmation. And you can see, particularly if you were trading it yesterday, how it was moving up, moving up, moving up. It sort of came into this area, and once it moved, it just went pop and shot back out. And I was short gold and silver at the time, and that was a great move. And like I was actually talking to a mate that I was sort of trade with, and sort of we were saying, like, basically sort of like, I was waiting for this 15-minute sort of candle to flip. And I said, look, if this flips and goes down now, because we had DXY coming into its support, we had DXY coming into its resistance at this point here. We had gold coming into its support, which was actually a confluence, and both of them just went pop and just flew there. So gold, we dropped from, what was it at that stage? Just having a look at this other one, 35, ended up sort of $30 lower. Did have a big bounce afterwards, but we'll get to that in a moment. But point being is that's that cross chart confluence that I'm sort of talking about. So anyway, we had double bottom here, failed to go through. So buyers are going, yep, you know what, we're going to give it a shot. And I'll just grab these ones off because it makes it a bit easier to read. We can see now that these levels that we've got marked out here are pretty well defined. As you can see, that's sort of like, this is obviously your double bottom. This got clipped like to the cent before it got knocked down. Break through, come up to this next zone that we already had marked out. Market sees it, they sell it down. Where do they come? They come back at the areas where we've seen it previously. And two attempts to get back down under there, up above the bounce, same sort of thing in a small. Support, up, finds some resistance, comes down. That's the second push down. Up past that sort of bounce high, that's your breakout point. Oof. And now it's just consolidating really up around this little top area here. So one thing with DXY, particularly in that, it does love to sort of almost look like it's about to fall over. and then it'll just jam up and sort of go another couple of levels. So it won't turn around on a dime most of the time. I mean, obviously this one does here, but you know, these this is on the 1 hour, so this is a 4 hour here, gave us that nice ledge that we were trading the other day, and boom, and once it falls, it absolutely hammered down. So we'll have to sort of see how this hourly candle closes. What are we at? 10:30 now. So, you know, half an hour into halfway through this sort of 1 hour candle, it's attempting to push up the top side here. We can see that, you know, the market has sort of liked to sell it from around this area here. So for me, if we could take out this candle, this wick here, um, that'd be a pretty good sort of confirmation for me that, you know, we're probably going to be going back up to around this 104.75 area. One thing sort of against that kind of move though is we do see this RSI, and as you can see, this is your first push up here. So where we go, this push here correlates with this high, and then we've come back up for another go, and it's just not really sort of bouncing up the same. Has ticked up a little bit here now, so I mean this isn't sort of confirmed to sort of like fail here, but certainly if you fail, if it fails underneath this area here, I would say this is a failed breakout attempt. So it just tightens our range up a little bit. Like, because the thing is, you can wait for sort of like large confirmations up here and large confirmations down here, and if that true sort of suits your sort of trading style and your time frames, then that's great. But you know, I trade intraday in that, and I'm in and out of things, so I don't want to wait for, you know, a sort of, you know, 60, 80 point move just to confirm what we might be seeing sort of during the session. At the moment, if we can take out the wicks over here, that's your move up. If we sort of fail and push back down here, then I'd say we're probably coming back down at least to this 104.52. It's not a massive drop off, but again, you know, you're going to see metals react. You're going to see Aussie jump up a little bit. So these kind of things are definitely going to sort of play into it. So yeah, we are sort of seeing how this is moving. Again, look, we were looking almost, this is what I was trying to sort of trade last night, potentially a little bit of a head and shoulders in this move up here. It's obviously coming up for a second attempt up here. 2 attempts through this level. It got through on the third. Second attempt at happening at the moment. So this could still pull out and then sort of shoot up later on. We're just going to have to wait and see. And there's a bit of, it's a pretty slow news week actually this week, particularly USD regarding. I think we have the Fed minutes out at some stage. Yeah, I think it was on Wednesday or something like this. I overlooked it previously. Yeah, I can't see it on this one here. But yeah, I think the Fed minutes were out. FOMC minutes were out this week. We've got the RBA minutes out for Aussie this morning in 1 hour's time. Apart from that, Thursday seems to be probably the move, but that's PMI day, and you've got all the sort of majors sort of coming out with their PMI data. But the here and now, I think sort of at the moment, unless this can get a push up here and a close out, I think it's in, you know, it's in danger of having a little bit of a sort of negative divergence coming through this period here. Not a true one at the moment because it hasn't technically made that new high. But, you know, again, if it's pushing up to the same level, you know, it's really coming up here, but, you know, it's coming up on lower buying pressure. Well, that means there's a higher chance, and it falls more in the camp of the idea that it'll see it sort of fall over and roll over. And as I said, you look for the correlations then, and you're going to be having sort of Aussie and sort of metals push up. Topside moves, if we do come up here, obviously, as I said, 104.78, this area I think is still going to offer a little bit of a sort of resistance with it all. Potentially, if we sort of see a move up through here, we would be looking at sort of like a break up here. This would be coming back down. You could sort of be seeing something like this, and then it could still obviously move more to the top side there. That would give you a bit of a sort of maybe a triangle sort of coming through this area here. Something to this sort of effect. I don't really like that one. It's a bit too steep. I'll get that out. But still remaining there. I would say that sort of like you're going to see sellers, as we've seen time and time again. Sellers are, oh, where we are. Sellers are here. Sellers were here. Buyers were here. Sellers will be here. These things very rarely go through first attempt, and particularly if it isn't any sort of massive news. Like news events can sort of just go, well, you don't care about the levels, because as I say, it changes the landscape. And based on the new information out, the data confirmed, not speculation. This is the big banks and the people moving the market. Let's shift our positions, and that's where you see things blow out levels. But in normal sort of trading conditions, you're just going to see it respect the levels a lot more. So topside moves, I think we're definitely got to get some selling coming in here. So if you come up along the top here, expect a bit of a sell down on metals, a bit of a sell down on Aussie. Wait till it gets up the top here and start to sort of, if you want to position yourself for some long positions on those, I would wait to sort of get up until we clip into this area, and then start to look at the gold, look at the silver, look at the Aussie, and find the sort of the little supports and their breakout levels, and then trade their little breakouts for a bit of a recovery as DXY sort of comes down through this period here, to sort of before it may sort of come up in an attempt to have a little bit of a breakout. Because as I said, same thing with going down, you're going to get that second push. If we get a push up here, well, it's going to have this pullback, and it's going to have this third leg, because this third leg is the one that's going to be the one that tells us if we're going further or not. Lower high, double top, higher high. They're the three outcomes. It's the same thing in both directions, all time frames. So obviously you want to do the higher the time frame, the better, but you can't always be trading dailies and that. So at least sort of like 1 hour minimum. If you're looking for something for a decent sort of a change, you can always drill down into the 15 minutes to get that sort of entry level. But you'd want to sort of to be able to pick a trend in that, at least a minimum 1 hour, but generally a 4 hour will obviously be a little bit stronger. All right, flip across to gold, because metals all over the shop on that yesterday. Interesting place that it bounces. So I wanted to, this is my sort of a plan from the weekend. I wanted it to melt down a little bit further so I could get the buys and jump on to catch this big move up to the top side here. I didn't get it, so I was starting to sort of sell around these periods here, sold. I think I can't remember whether I got the top of the highest one I had was somewhere in the 40s up over here. And obviously, as it started to come down yesterday, it just absolutely just dropped. And that's what I was saying. I was trading it with a mate at the same time, and when it came, it just sort of went from that second attempt up the top over here, this nice little wick where it locked in a sort of lower high. We can sort of see that obviously the reaction under that one was just perfect. So let's just put this there for the moment. I've already got that color, don't we? This color. I chop and change. Those colors don't mean anything for me. So yeah, it didn't get the buys back down the bottom over here, but it did sort of get the bulk of the shorts, and actually had a pretty good day sort of down here. Did catch some longs on the way back up through here, closed them up over 33, I think I got overnight, and then back down here now, and we have to sort of see how this day sort of pans out. As I said, I think this is a good example about sort of what I'm talking about with this cross chart confluence. This level right here is obviously akin to the same thing. If I put this onto DXY, so this one here, and we're seeing DXY. DXY is testing its resistance. Gold is holding its support. We see a fail down, DXY coming back down over here. We're going to see an attempt for gold to run out, and probably looking to retest that bounce highs over there. Again, that's the one that you want to sort of see. Are we going to sort of get a bit of a further move up to the top side there? If this does decide to just charge through, then this support's going to give way. And then we're really probably more likely going to be looking down into this sort of like low 24s. Body fills I always like as a sort of a decent area for people if they're trying to short or have a little price target. So we could see something down along this line over here as well. So between 13 and low 24s, I think we could sort of see again a little bit of a bounce. And this is what I'm saying, how these things will correspond. If DXY pumps through here, goes up to the top over here, well, most likely gold's going to be coming down around these levels over here. I would guarantee that we probably get at the same time that DXY is up around here, gold's coming into these low 24s over here. As that does happen, we've got support on gold, we've got resistance on DXY, and that you'll see the shift. It's not going to be like, okay, that's it, that's the game changer, that's the spot. But if that does play out, they're the levels that you want to sort of think. Corresponding cross-chart confluence. I came up with the term myself, coined the term myself. But the point is still the same. It's just like, look for how these things flow together, and you'll sort of see them go. So if this rejects back down here, looking for a push up here on gold, this morning had a little bit of a spike up, but I wouldn't really call that sort of anything super. I mean, look, you're looking for 31 and 35. It's not a great sort of trade here. If you want to get a big move, if you get above this falling resistance that's set up here, above 35, this is your level here, where you're really going to see a little bit sort of gold moving back to test the highs. Above 35, I think that's a 37. What have I got? That 37 or something. Above that sort of little wick high over here of that bounce from last night. I mean, it does mean that you have to sort of either take a gamble, get in down here, put your stops down here, be willing to take a couple of. I mean, it's only a $3, $4 clip down to the bottom side here. But above 37, you got confirmation. If you're in from down here, move your stops up. You can add to your positions on here. You can look for these little sort of bounces, like these kind of moves here. And then look for that to sort of move up. And then we look at, okay, where were the sellers overnight? Hard to say, excuse me, whether we'd be hitting and testing this level or whether maybe that would be the better go. Because I was going to say maybe the wick here. But I think this would be better because although this spiked up, these candles weren't able to close above it. So I think that's what you'd be looking for. You'd probably be looking something similar to this. This is the little path that I'd be looking to take. And of course, above this, well, this is your breakout candle. This is your back test. That's your high. If we go above yesterday's highs, I'll be targeting 2,500. That's my plan of attack. But this will obviously come at the same time as sort of gold sort of breaking down, DXY breaking down a little bit. Because if we, okay, let's get back onto one chart. So with gold here, potentially, look, if this fails, we come down over here. That's fine. That's the bear case scenario kind of thing. And I still think the buys will come in here and it's worthwhile. I don't think metals are done here. As I said, 2,500 is pretty much where I'm sort of viewing gold to go, because we don't really have too much. We don't have any news coming out this week, and the sort of the idea at the moment is that cuts are coming for the Fed, and that's going to weaken the US dollar, and metals are proving to be a great place for people to park their dollars, park their capital after they sort of sell out from the US dollar. So I do think we have upside. So I think any sort of real dips down to here will be bought up. In the short term, what I could look at here, this is on a 1 hour. We could sort of say, look, where's the little arrow thing gone? This coming in through here, it's trying to hit the same level here, but as you see with the RSI, it's actually sort of coming in a little bit higher. So yes, a push down, selling's not coming at the same level. We're getting a little bit of a push up here. So this is what I sort of say. You don't need to wait for a full sort of, textbook perfect negative divergence to sort of enact these things. You can see here that this one is obviously sort of coming in at a slightly higher level, even though price sort of came down to the same level. It's only a couple of buck range, so it's pretty tight on this one. But if we certainly start to move up over here, that's as good as a negative divergence, even though technically negative divergence would be like this. Was just saying that the buying pressure isn't replicating what the price is actually doing. It's sort of coming up. This is coming up. Okay, that's the same for it all there. However, I think sort of if we jump onto a higher time frame, this was obviously a big breakout. This was a weekly breakout. This is on the daily time frame now. It's a daily breakout. It's a weekly breakout. This doesn't mean that it's like if this was going to fail, this would have failed, something like these kind of candles here, even though this did push up afterwards. And that sort of, where was the one that I was saying yesterday? That's the kind of thing. This little thing here, which was that big spike up, went crazy in the Asia session, and then that sort of bear engulfing, and that one, boom, you can see the continuation down. We didn't have that on this daily. If you look at our daily here, this actually still, despite the sell down, it came right back down to retest this area, which I think I had marked out due to a 4 hour. So this is this 4-hour zone where sellers were, buyers step back in at that zone. So despite it sort of going up and then coming back, we've got the retest here. So this here is your breakout. This is your back test. Where's that thing gone? This is your back test here. So now if we break the breakout candle, that's the confirmation, we get the move to the top side. So I think sort of, yeah, certainly if we take out sort of, 2452, particularly, like everything, close above is always going to be better and stronger. But if we take out that high, 2500, that's a $40 move to the top side that I'm going to be looking to hold through. So we'll have to see how that one plays out, but certainly, obviously, in the here and now, needs to get up above this this little sort of falling resistance. We've got a couple of little horizontals to get up above, and then we go from there. But really, again, sort of Asia is typically pretty slow. We do get the occasional ones, like yesterday was just insane, but it was insane both directions, both metals, silver and gold. But really sort of you only get about a $5 move typically 90% of the time through Asia sessions. So we'll sort of see how this one plays out. But that's the plan of attack. I'm still going to be buying. I'm not really looking to short it anymore. I shorted through this period. That was great. Now we're looking to sort of buy again, and we're targeting 2,500. All right, Aussie. Copped a bit of a smack last night. I actually sort of closed out, I think the last of my Aussies, I think I closed a couple early in the morning in the 90s. So this is around this period here, and I closed the last of them at, I think, 06. So right at the top over here, we came back down, bang, bang, double test. And as you can see, this is that zone that we had. This is our big zone. Like, it's quite a big zone, as you can see. This is, how big we made this one. This one is 35 points. So it's a big zone through here, but this is the yearly kind of thing that we've been sort of working off. This is the top of those wicks. We've held it. It looks like it does want to sort of, I wouldn't be surprised if this comes back a little bit through here at the moment. As I said, we've got the minutes coming out soon. So that'll be interesting to sort of see how price reacts. But this is what I was saying, I think over the weekend or last couple of sessions completely, that this was a massive chop area. This was like 12 days of chop within, and this is like a 50-point range. And the price likes to replicate it. And as you can see, we're just chopping through this area here again. So we didn't quite get up to this area that I thought we would. I mean, this is, what do we say, to 21, and we got to 13. So we got within 7 points. It has had 2 attempts to go through there, and this daily close wasn't great. But as I said, this chopped here for, I think, 12 sessions. So, I think sort of like, there's a good chance that we either sort of chop here a little bit more while DXY works out what it wants to do, or we sort of see a little bit of a pullback. If we do have a pullback, as I said, this is my buys, retest of these little wicks of this little breakout, this particular move here. We got the breakout, and this is kind of almost a bit of a back test. Top of those wicks, people step straight back in at 48, bang, pushed up again for it all here. Look, if we sort of get back below, say, 66, 10, 66 even, I'd say, okay, you could call this a failed breakout attempt, and we come back into this zone, we look around for 65 evens. But as it is at the moment, it's just coming up here. It's consolidating under this period, under this resistance area here. So it's just waiting for the spark to sort of go bang and push off here. As I said, we've got the minutes coming out in a few minutes. If it turns out that they're sort of like going, hey, you know what? We were just on the cusp of hiking, but we thought we'll just wait for the data one more time. That hawkish kind of talking, then we're going to see Aussie go, yeah, bang, and spark up. Because really at the moment, the talk is Fed cutting, RBA hiking, or potentially hiking. And if not hiking, they're definitely holding it for longer. So we're going to have to sort of see how this one sort of plays out. But I mean, it's overbought a little bit at the bit, so it could stand to do a little bit of a cool off through this period, like sort of, a little bit more ranging for a few more days perhaps. And that's sort of, really sort of based on what will happen with sort of DXY. But my sort of tip is that particularly we will sort of go past this level here. We take out these levels, these wicks over here at this, call it sort of 67.30, 68. is, Jesus, not very far off at all. I mean, realistically, you could probably be looking mid 68s. But so I'm going to say price target 68 conservatively to 68.50. So I mean that's a good 70 point plus move if we can sort of get this play to move out. Move to play out. So it's certainly it's looking like it wants to go a little bit higher here. Certainly sort of has been squeezing all the way through here. I think sort of regardless of it all, you've got to respect the fact that this has been a year-long range and it's popped out to the top side. So measured moves for ranges are like this. And this, I mean, because there's so many wicks and so many touches, you can't, like, I mean, I wouldn't take the very high, I wouldn't take the very low. I'd take about the sort of like, the most reoccurring levels. So this is probably a good level because you got sort of tops of wicks, tops of bodies, all this kind of stuff over here. And this kind of chops and sort of evens out the lows. Obviously, we came all the way down here, but you've got this low over here, you got this low over here. So for me, this is a good enough sort of measure of your sort of your range depth. So measure move there. So we double that up the top over here, and this also brings us up to around 68. So this would be your kind of measured move price target through here. And this is what I was saying, 68 to 60. I mean, you could overshoot this. And obviously, these are just measured moves. They're not sort of like, okay, gospel that it's going to stop at that point. But it's a higher likelihood that you see some reaction at these points as well. So let's just call this price target there. So that would be our price target for it all. And let me just move this across a little bit so we know it's a little bit more relevant. So here, and this kind of thing here. And this would be your range, measure move, price target based on this lot here. And this is obviously with a break across the top over here. So it's still a little way to go. I mean, obviously, first of all, need to get out of this short-term consolidation. But certainly, I think we've got more upside to come with Aussie. Cool. All right, fly across, and we got copper. Copper just keeps on keeping on. It did have a bit of a sort of smackdown yesterday, but we're hitting all-time highs. So it's bound to see a little bit of a sell down through here. But as you can see, it still managed to close bullish. Did we get, how much of this did we get of the pullback here? Where was that arrow? Yeah, so this is the thing. Again, I was looking for a bit more of a pullback and then a launch off, but obviously didn't get the chance to do that yesterday. It sort of took off, and this is all-time highs, I'm pretty sure. We go back far enough. See the wicks over here? This is where the sellers really said that's enough, and we sold it down. Well, they sold it down. So, you mark it out, you look at it, and, like I said time and time again, this red line, that's where sellers were. Well, here they are again. Doesn't mean that it's not going to sort of go through. This time, charge through. But when it came back, that's where it came in. You know what I mean? So that's sellers now become buyers. We break out the top. You take out this top here. You're looking for another leg up on copper. Copper's just been an absolute, above sort of 390. It has just been an absolute insane run. So this is new all-time highs, confirming next leg. Slight thing to be cautious with this. You want to see this sort of the RSI sort of tip up and support this move a little bit more. As it comes up through here, this could definitely turn this a bit. This is on the 4 hour. Does this go for like a bit of a channel or anything? Look, I'd be happy to call this a little bit of a channel. It's not perfect, but you've got the touches on the bottom side here. Like obviously, as it got above this level here, it rejected back down. Lines up pretty well with this high. So if we see a little bit more, I'd be reluctant to sort of think that this is going to explode and just go even higher. But it has just been on a rip. When these things are at all-time highs, you can't really sort of put a technical level onto it other than sort of to go, well, here's an angle in which sellers were previously. But I mean, in saying that, people could be doing something like this, you know, they could be dragging that through there and say, hey, well, here's the high, and maybe this is why this sold down a little bit. But certainly after a little bit of back and forth, it didn't really matter. And as you can see, even if that were to be the case, I don't actually believe in this line, but that does also line up with top side of retest of that. But you know what I mean? The point being is it's hard to sort of put a technical target on things while they're hitting all-time highs. So I'm just going to close a little bit of silver. Nice little pump this morning. Take that one. Boom. All right, and cool. Finally, finish off with China, because China is just absolutely just thumping up to the top side here. Well, thumping, grinding, is moving up to the top side though. I was saying, look, we'll have this drop down, bounce, and then the move down here. So this is the example. The move did come. We did get the pull down here, but this one here, obviously, as you can see, didn't manage to get back down to the bottom. So as I said, you got the three outcomes: sell down, support, resistance, third leg down. This is the leg that you want to really pay attention to, because this one is either going to do double bottom, lower low, higher low. This one's gone higher low. It's decided to sort of find some buying support down here and just grind its way back up to those bounce highs here. So we're seeing a point at the moment which is quite pivotal, because you know, here they are, they sold it, and here they are back up to test it again to see if they can sell it down from this point here again. You pop through here, well, that actually negates this whole sort of move down over here, and we're back up into this upper range through here, and you know, you're going to be looking up around 726. So this is actually a lot of movement for the one, because one, as you can see, typically it finds a range and it grinds sideways for a long time, but this one dropped down and it came down very hard. Once it broke this range that we were looking at, it really sort of hammered down to the bottom side here. As you can see, it's it's 1.5%, but for this, it was in 1% range for 3 months last year. So it does like to just go sideways. So if the sellers can sort of defend this line, which you can see they're trying to at the moment, it's very overbought. Doesn't matter, things can stay overbought for a long time, but it is very overbought. It's hitting an area where we know sellers are. Is it going to come back down over here? Then we're going to be targeting this area with a couple of levels through the middle here, of course, but we're going to be targeting these lows and then see if maybe this is the range. Where's that little box gone? See if this will be its range that it plays through. Little sort of consolidation box. If it breaks out here, then we're looking up the top, equal to these sellers over here. So back along this line here to completely undo that move. That'd be your price target on a break of this level here, if you decide to charge on. If not, come back down here, and this is your kind of price target down here. And we're going to see these things happen. Push back down over here. As we know, the correlation with the Aussie, that's going to give Aussie a breakout as well. We're going to see Aussie sort of push out, probably past that zone. And once we're coming back down over to this level over here, that's probably when you're going to see Aussie move towards that 68 level as well. All right, that's pretty much it from me.